This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. I'm Pim Fox. We're taking a continued look at shipping, but this time from a different perspective. My next guest is the president and the CEO of Textainer. This is the world's largest leaser of shipping containers. His company leases containers to more than 300 shipping lines and is the exclusive supplier of leased containers to the U.S. military. Textainer is getting bigger. Just today, the company announced it's acquiring the managing rights to a competitor's container fleet. John Maccarone, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Give us an update first on the deal that was announced today, because you're basically adding capacity.
That's right. We announced today that we're acquiring the management rights to a company based in Hamburg called Capital Intermodal, and it adds about 7% growth to our fleet. And this is the second acquisition we've had so far this year. So the other one was about exactly the same time. It was a UK company called Amphicon. And so we've added 15% growth to the fleet. Both acquisitions were immediately accretive to earnings. Neither required any additions to headcount. So and they both will help us spread our overhead cost over a bigger fleet.
Why are you doing this now? I mean, is this taking advantage of the problems that competitors are facing in a difficult market? We just had Urs Dur coming on from Lazard Capital. He said we're basically climbing out of the abyss, not only for, let's say, Baltic index shipping rates, but also in the container business. What's the status of the business right now?
Well, the container shipping business has an overcapacity right now. There are really two things happened. One, we had the worldwide recession, which has caused a decline in cargo, and it happened at exactly the same time that container ships that were ordered 3 years ago with a 3-year lead time are hitting the market. So it's been a difficult time, as I'm sure you heard with the previous guest. However, the difficult time has really created opportunities for us, not only these acquisitions that I talked about, but we are looking at purchase and leaseback, where shipping lines who are trying to improve their balance sheet are willing to sell us some of the containers that they own and then lease them back, and these tend to be quite attractive deals, and we're looking at a variety of those opportunities.
What about financing? I mean, we talked about financing new ship builds earlier. What about the financing for these deals as well as in the future? I mean, are you facing issues having to do with cash?
We're not, and we're extremely fortunate in that our credit facilities had to be renewed in the first quarter of 2008 before the banking system really ran into trouble. So we were able to renew, and at the moment we have over $350 million of liquidity, and the pricing is just over LIBOR +1. So we're in an extremely envious position to be able to go after acquisitions, purchase leasebacks, and other opportunities.
Now, one of the things I think that you even spoke about on the last conference call you had, which is the manufacturers of containers, they basically stopped making containers, right? So there's no new container capacity coming online.
That's right. Yeah, I was in Asia last week, and I met with the chairman of one of the largest manufacturing groups. They do not plan to reopen this year. In fact, I don't think any of the manufacturers, and this is, again, it's in a way it's very positive, because the world container fleet has been growing at about 8% a year. This year, it'll probably shrink by about 5%. So we'll get into a proper equilibrium much, much quicker because of that lack of production.
Do you think that we're going to see a weakening of the market next year as well? Are we going to see a contraction? I mean, let's not talk just about Textainer, but the whole business right now.
I met with a lot of shipping lines in Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong during my trip, and the consensus that I came away with is that the first quarter of next year is when people are optimistic about a turnaround.
Next quarter. First quarter, I beg your pardon. First quarter of 2010.
Right. That's when they're the people that I spoke to.
So is it a kind of a write-off for the whole second half of 2009 and just staying as a survivor, trying to live through this?
No, there are actually some parts that are doing well. For example, the intra-Asia trade, which was probably the largest by volume in the world, which is moving raw materials, components, sub-assemblies into places like China and Vietnam for final assembly into consumer products and then ultimate shipment. And that sector has really started to improve month by month. But I found that the answer to the mystery was that the products that are being produced in China are in large part for domestic consumption, part of the China stimulus program.
John Maccarone coming in from Textainer, thank you very much.